Hello students, let us begin our next topic of this chapter, that is equinox. To understand this topic carefully, please go through this video. The equinox is defined as the instant in which the midpoint of the sun crosses the earth's equator. This occurs twice a year in March and September. Following the March equinox, the northern hemisphere begins to tilt towards the sun and astronomical spring begins. This is known as the spring or vernal equinox. At the same time, the southern hemisphere will start tilting away from the sun because this is their autumn equinox. The word equinox is derived from the Latin word equal night. However, day and night are not precisely equal on either the spring or autumn equinox. This occurs on the equinox, the date of which varies depending on the location. Typically, the equinox is around 2 to 3 days before the spring equinox and 2 to 3 days after the autumn equinox. There are two main reasons for this. First, imagine the sun were a single point in the sky. On the equinox, the time taken between the sun crossing the horizon at the sunrise and there again at sunset would be the exactly 12 hours. However, the sun doesn't appear as a single point in the sky as a large disk. And sunrise is defined as the moment the top of the sun's disk appears above the horizon and not its midpoint. Later, sunset occurs when the top of the sun's sphere appears to dip below the horizon. The extra time in which only the top half of the sun is visible above the horizon adds around 2.5 to 3 minutes of daylight at midpoint. Second, sunrise and sunset are based on the appearance of the sun above the horizon and not on the sun's exact geometrical position. This is significant because of an effect known as atmospheric refraction. The variation in the density of the atmosphere allows it to act like a lens or prism, bending sunlight above the horizon. This means that when the sun first appears in the sky at sunrise, it is actually tilted below the horizon. Atmospheric refraction adds around 6 minutes of daylight, but its effects varies depending to the weather. Lower temperature, higher humidity and higher air pressure results in more atmospheric refraction and slightly longer day. The date of equinoxes also vary year to year from 19 to 21st March and 21st to 24th September. A year isn't exactly 365 days long but just under 365.25 days. This causes the equinoxes to drift later by around 6 hours every year until a leap year occurs. Now let us proceed to our last topic of the chapter, that is solstice. In this you will study about the sun's rays fall vertically on the tropic of Capricorn and Cancer. Okay. Now solstices are a planet's longest and shortest days of the year. The longest day often marks the beginning of summer and is called the summer solstice. The shortest day often marks the beginning of the winter and is called the winter solstice. The northern hemisphere's summer solstice happens in June, that is 21st June, when the North Pole is tilted most directly towards the sun. This tilt means the summer solstice has the most hours of sunlight and is the brightest day of the year. Now the northern hemisphere winter solstice happens in 22nd December, when the northern pole is tilted furthest away from the equator. Because of this, the winter solstice has the fewest hours of sunlight and is the darkest day of the year. In the southern hemisphere, where the seasons are flipped, the situation is reversed because the exact solstice dates may vary year to year on the calendars. Meteorologists do not use them to mark the seasons. That means the day of the winter solstice may not always correspond with the first day of the winter. Both summer and winter solstice, along with the autumn and vernal equinoxes, help shepherd in the changing of the seasons.